Good evening. Thank you all who are here in person, and for those of us who are joining on Zoom. Thank you for joining us this evening for the final round of the Donna Jo Morse Client Counseling Competition. Soon you will hear from the chair of this competition, Asta Kataki, about the great work that she and her competition associate, Rebecca Novick, have seen from all of the competitors throughout the course of this competition. So I'll save the talk of the competitors for them. Now, what you likely won't hear from those humble ladies is a recounting of the months of hard work researching legal issues, hours of thoughtful conversation surrounding difficult topics, and the many, many long nights spent here at the school, scheduling competitors and volunteers, calling judges, and coordinating a meaningful experience for all involved. Because that is what we pride ourselves on as the Anthony V. Cardona Moot Court Program of Albany Law School, providing meaningful, realistic, simulated experiences for students to learn and practice. And we know that that is what you will see tonight. And none of that would be possible without the dedication of the Donna Jo Morse Chair and Associate, Asta and Rebecca, and their faculty advisor, Professor Joe Connors. So please join me in congratulating and thanking them. It's a good reminder to turn off any noises. Okay. And without further ado, I will pass it over to Asta to kick off the competition.
First of all, thank you, Tegan, for the very, very kind words. Hello, everyone. My name is Asta Kataki. I'm the chair for Donna Jo Morse Client Counseling and Negotiations Competition. And together with my associate, Rebecca Novick, we welcome you to the final round. Before I begin, I would like to start the record on this webinar. 1 second. I did. Okay, perfect. So this competition bears the name of Donna Jo Morse as a dedication to the legacy and memory of Donna Jo Morse, a 1991 graduate of Albany Law School. Upon graduation, Ms. Morse remained at the law school as an introduction to lawyering professor for first-year students. During her tenure, she, with Professor Patricia Whelan, co-directed the Sawyer Workshop, which is an academic program created to enhance the success of law students. In 1996, she was awarded the Kate Stoneman Award for her tenacity, dedication, and devotion to her students, and for promoting excellence in the legal education. Ms. Morse also served as the faculty advisor for the law school's negotiation competition. During her tenure as a negotiations advisor, the team successfully won 5 national championships. Due to cancer, Ms. Morse passed away in September 1996 at the age of 39. This competition is held in honor of her memory as a teacher, mentor, and friend. We would like to extend our gratitude to Mr. John Morse, Donna Jo's husband, Mr. Lawrence Yans, Donna Jo's father, and Miss Patty Wenzel, Donna Jo's sister, for joining us tonight on our Zoom audience. A little about the competition. Will Rogers once said, "We will never have true civilization until we have learned to recognize the rights of others." The theme for this year's competition is an extremely relevant topic in everybody's lives, civil rights. This year, we had an astounding number of 21 teams participate who did a remarkable job, and it reflected in their judges' remarks and scores. The winning team from this evening will go on to represent Albany Law School at the regionals and hopefully the nationals. Tonight, you will see two final teams engaged in a client counseling session. Each of the consultation sessions is designed as an initial meeting between a client and an attorney. Tonight, the client will be following the fact pattern that is outlined in the programs provided to you. However, our competitors only know that Professor Linda Mendez is coming in to discuss an imminent issue she is facing with Lincoln Hughes University. The competitor's objective is to learn as many facts as possible, apply the law, and advise the client. Each competitor has 30 minutes to do so. Following this 30-minute consultation session, each competitor will have 10 minutes for self-evaluation. To judge our event this evening, please welcome Honorable Tanika Frost, Ms. Renee Behrens, and Ms. Victoria Esposito. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you, judges, for being here. A little about our judges tonight. Judge Frost has served as the Schenectady City Court judge since 2018, where she handles criminal, civil, and traffic matters. Judge Frost completed a dual degree program here at Albany Law School and SUNY Albany's Rockefeller College of Public Policy and Public Affairs, receiving her Juris Doctorate and Masters of Public Administration in 2002. While at Albany Law School, Judge Frost also served as the Moot Court Board member and was the regional director for the Northeast Black Student Law Association. Ms. Behrens currently serves as the assistant counsel at the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles. She is also an adjunct professor at University Albany College of Emergency Preparedness, Homeland Security, and Cybersecurity. In addition to her role as the corresponding secretary, she also sits on the board of directors for the National Alumni Association here at Albany Law School. She volunteers much of her time at the law school judging moot court competitions, mentoring students, assisting with mock interviews, and delivering lectures as guest speaker. Outside of work, Ms. Behrens likes hiking, golfing, and running. Ms. Victoria Esposito became the first advocacy director of the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York in January 2016. In that position, she works with staff throughout 5 offices, 16 county services area to identify systemic issues affecting low-income individuals and to use litigation and other advocacy methods to fix them. Ms. Victoria Esposito first joined Legal Aid in May 2011 as a staff attorney in the Canton office and became a senior attorney in January 2014. She previously worked as an assistant district attorney and taught at SUNY Canton. Ms. Esposito received her bachelor's and law degree from the University of Notre Dame. Her bachelor's in English, Russian, and Soviet studies came with honors, and her law degree was awarded with honors in 1997. Our final teams this evening are Tori Deyo and Danielle Lynch, Claire Stratton, and Patricia Whelan. Serving tonight as a client are 2 of our most amazing 1L students. And finally, we have Moot Court Board member Jacqueline Yoselovich, who will be serving as our official timekeeper. The competitors must abide by the designated time limits. However, the judges have full discretion and may allow additional time. Now, I would like to invite Professor Joseph Connors to say a couple of words.
Thank you, Asta. My apologies for having my back to you panel. Thank you for being here. I've been asked to give a couple of comments on the theme of tonight's competition and talk a little bit more about the importance of client and counseling and interviewing as an essential attorney skill. It's probably the most important skill that an attorney has to help clients avoid problems and prevent future problems. Tonight's competition is focused on civil rights and civil liberties. Those issues go to the heart of today's society. Civil rights involve issues of protections against discrimination and creating a legal structure to ensure equal opportunities for individuals in day-to-day life. Civil liberties involve rights protected by the Constitution to have the enjoyment of certain freedoms without undue state interference. Unfortunately, those issues are at the heart of our society today. You don't need to be too well informed to just pick up the newspaper and realize that they're in the newspaper every day. And the competition leading up to tonight focused on some of those issues. The 21 different teams had to help in round one a comedian who was fired from her job due to discrimination based on disability, sex, and religion. The second round revealed a high school student who was opposing being vaccinated due to against wishes of his parents based on religious freedom concerns. The third round dealt with a racist chief of police who was involved in a arrest and assault based on racial profiling. The next round dealt with a housing manager who was a whistleblower who was concerned about the well-being of tenants who were facing discrimination in a hostile environment from other tenants due to their ethnicity. And finally, the last round before tonight, a college student came seeking assistance, very concerned about a hostile environment in her college dormitory due to her gender identity. These are the types of compelling issues that attorneys that practice in this area frequently have to face. Tonight's competition, though, isn't just focused on civil rights. It's focused more on transferable skills that can be applied to any area. The problem that you'll witness and observe tonight focuses on and requires excellence in interviewing skills, including the team's ability to create an environment of comfort and trust for their client. The team's ability to anticipate and acknowledge obstacles to building that trust. The team's ability to establish clear expectations about what's going to happen. The team's ability to normalize unpredictable moments to help push the conversation forward. The team's ability to discover the client's perspective of the problem, what happened, the chronology of what happened, as well as some of the more specific facts through different types of questions, open-ended questions, closed-ended questions. It also involves essential client counseling skills, including helping clients to see parts of the problem that they might not have seen through the attorney's impartial view. The attorneys might have to help their clients challenge assumptions that they're making. They might need to help their clients consider opposing views. They often need to help clients consider how a problem might affect collateral parts of the client's life. And they might also need to help their client understand that more information is needed to help the client make an informed decision. In the end, the teams will be challenged to help clients weigh different options based on the client's individual goals and values and come up with a specific short-term and long-term plan for moving forward. At its best, this whole process is a healing process that helps clients move forward with their problems and help avoid future problems. Keep in mind that we're asking the teams to do this tonight in 30 minutes with masks on, in front of an audience, which is probably unfair to do, but I appreciate their willingness and your willingness to understand the time constraints associated with the competition. In a real life scenario, this type of relationship would take several meetings to develop and to develop an action plan. But it's condensed here. And the judges will look at all these factors in assessing a champion for tonight. But in reality, every team that participated in this, and I see some of the students that participated, and I know there's some watching on Zoom, you made this competition a success. I was really impressed at the collaboration. I saw the joint celebrations of each other's success throughout the competition. Certainly the leadership from Asta and Rebecca Novak, who really spent countless hours developing and fine-tuning these problems. So thank you for doing that. And finally, I'd like to add my gratitude to Donna Morse and her family tonight. This competition wouldn't be possible but for Donna's spirit that continues to inspire me. She was known to be an amazing colleague, friendly, open door, always concerned about her students, putting them first. Up until the end, she wanted something to be done to help the students. And this competition is a big part of some of her final wishes and her legacy. It's a big deal to be a Donna Morse champion. I Googled Donna's name and it comes up in our recent graduates who are working at different firms around the country where their firms are touting the fact that, hey, we have a Donna Jo Morse champion at our firm. So it is a big deal. And everyone that's competed in this competition also deserves credit for putting themselves out there, taking the risk, facing fears to get to know a client and help a client move forward. So I'm looking forward to tonight's teams, and I'm gonna turn it back to Asta to bring them in.
Thank you, Professor Connors. Our final teams this evening are Tori Deyo and Danielle Lynch, Claire Stratton and Patricia Whelan. So our first team is Claire Stratton and Patricia Whelan. I will now turn things over to Judge Frost, and when the judges are ready, she will let the competition begin. So we'll get them comments, and I'll come to the first and time to law, and then the titles will begin. So as soon as they're ready to begin. Thank you.
Good, how are you? Why don't you follow me over here? Watch your step, there's a wire right here. You want to take either seat, whichever feels best for you, and just sit on down. What pronoun would you prefer to be addressed by?
She, her is fine, thank you.
Awesome. But I just want to let you know, you made it to the right place. This is the Summit Law Firm. My name is Claire, and this is my associate.
Hi, my name is Patty.
Which we go by she, her pronouns, but you can call us Claire and Patty.
So we know it's a little bit hard to find parking in this part of town, especially when it's dark out. Did you guys find it here okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Also, did you park in our parking garage?
I did, yes.
Okay, awesome. So we just wanted to let you know that parking will be free for you today. So at the end of this consultation, we can take your ticket and just verify it so that you don't have to pay for anything. Were you able to fill out our client intake form with our secretary?
I think I have it somewhere, yeah.
Okay, great. So, if you need to take a break or need to use the bathroom at any time, please let us know. Additionally, we have tissues, a complimentary legal pad and paper, and water for you today. Is there anything else Claire and I could provide for you that might make you more comfortable?
No, I think that's all, thank you.
Okay, great.
So we're just going to start off with some preliminary matters. We just want you to know that you can stop us during any time, especially if we're not speaking loud enough or clearly enough. Also, if we're talking about a concept or saying some words that you don't understand, please feel free to interrupt us at any point.
So have you ever worked with an attorney before? Are you familiar with an attorney?
I don't know if I've ever come directly to an attorney before, but I am familiar, yes.
Awesome.
I've never worked with an attorney.
Okay.
Well, we just want you both to be aware that at the foundation of a client-attorney relationship is trust. Are either of you familiar with the Confidentiality Code?
I think I might be, but if you would go over it, that'd be great.
Okay, awesome. So what a confidentiality code means is that anything that you say in this space will remain between us, and we cannot disclose any information that you tell us today without your consent. We know that the term confidentiality gets thrown about in TV shows and movies today, but the difference between that is that lawyers are bound by a confidentiality code by law. For example, if you go tell your friends and family a secret, that's not confidential. Usually your friends can't get in trouble by law for telling your secret to someone, although you might wish they would. Also, at the end of the meeting, we're going to touch on a retainer. What that basically means is it's a formal agreement between you and us saying that we will be your legal representation. But just because you haven't signed that with us today doesn't mean that we're not going to follow the confidentiality code, because we will follow everything by law, even anything that pertains to legal representation.
So we also just wanted to let you know that as soon as we got your name from our secretary, we ran a conflict check against you just to make sure that we haven't represented you in the past. Throughout this consultation, we might ask you names of certain parties, people, that might be involved in your situation, just to make sure that we also haven't represented them in the past and that there would be, no conflicts that might inhibit us from representing you today. Do these explanations of confidentiality and conflicts make sense to you, as they could be the more complex aspects of legal representation?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Same here.
Okay, good. So lastly, this initial consultation will be free for you today, and it will last about 30 minutes. We will return you the fees and some other logistics at the end of the consultation. Does that sound okay for you guys?
Yes.
Awesome. So right now, what we're going to do is just kind of set some expectations with this meeting, kind of like an agenda, and we'd love to get your feedback on it. So first, Patty and I are both going to ask you some broad questions to establish a timeline and kind of figure out the who, what, when, where, why of your situation. Next, Patty and I are going to ask you some more specific questions. These questions might be clarifying questions, or these questions might be legally relevant. Also, we just want you to know that we might interrupt you at times, just to understand you better. So for example, if you say a car drove by, we might say, oh wait, what color was the car? If that happens, try to remember your place in the story as, we're just trying to gather all the information that we can. Towards the end of this meeting today, we want to hear from you and any questions that you all might have, and also get into specifics about, logistics, the retainer fees, a timeline, what you can expect from us after all of this. Do y'all have any questions about the layout, or is there anything that you guys would like to add to the meeting?
No.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
Okay, so we want to let you know also that it's really important that, everything you can possibly tell us will be helpful. Even if you think that a small detail might be irrelevant or may not really, matter as much, it could be really helpful for us in order to find a practical solution for you and your issues. It's important for us to be on the same page as you because we want to be able to best address your situation and find things that'll work for you in order to accomplish your goals and, meet your expectations. Lastly, we're going to be taking notes throughout this meeting today. Is that okay?
Sure.
Great. Also, please feel free to also take notes if you need to.
So why don't y'all start off by telling us what brought you in here today? Our secretary told us that this issue might be imminent, also, urgent.
Yes, well, I'm just being jerked around by my university.
Okay.
All right. And what university do you go to?
I'm a professor at Lower East Side University.
Okay. And how long have you been a professor there for?
Oh, about 6 years.
Okay. And how long have you been a professor, like in general?
Well, maybe about 10 years now. Seems like forever, but I'm a journalism professor, so I've been in the field for quite a while. I've written numerous articles, won some awards as well.
Okay. So just to clarify, you've worked at Upper East Side University for 6 years and you're a professor there?
Correct.
Okay. So do you mind elaborating a little bit more about the timeline of what brought you in here today?
Well, like I said, I'm just being jerked around by my university. All started with this article that was published by my students. I'm the faculty advisor for the student journal.
Okay.
And they published an article that the administration really didn't like.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this journal?
What do you mean?
Like what subject is it? What are the requirements of the students? What is your role in the journal? Just different specifics like that.
Well, the students can write whatever they want. I make sure that the articles are appropriate, and assist with any funding requests that they may have. But for the most part, they can write whatever they want. It's mainly student run. I'm just there, to be their advisor.
So when you say that you're the one who checks to make sure that it's appropriate, are you kind of the only, person that's checking that? And what guidelines do you follow?
There isn't really a specific set of guidelines I'd follow per se. It's just more of, using common sense, what's appropriate, what's not. It is a school setting, after all, it's a school paper. So that's really what we focus on.
Could you give us an example of something that you would deem inappropriate that one of your students might write?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
And is your university a public or private university?
It's a public university.
Okay. And can you talk about a little bit more of your position as a professor? Are you tenured? What subjects do you teach? That type of stuff?
I should be tenured.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Why do you say it like that?
Well, I was on the tenure track, but then all of a sudden I wasn't.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? What do you mean all of a sudden you weren't?
Well, after this article was published, the administration contacted me, didn't really like it. And then a little while later, I received confirmation that I was no longer on the tenure track that I had come into the school with. When you're hired, you get told whether you're going to be on a tenure track or not. I was. And then afterwards, I wasn't.
Can you maybe just talk a little bit more about this article that, you're saying is the reason why you're no longer on this tenure track?
Well, the article, like I said, was written by the students. It revolves around an incident with 2 other students, and the people that are writing the article in the journal wanted to comment on it. And it was an opinion piece, as it was, their comment. And like I said, the administration just didn't like it.
I'm the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, and I think it's utterly ridiculous that Dr. Mendez is facing sanctions for what we wrote.
Can you tell us your name as well?
My name is Thomas Jenkins. I'm a senior at the university.
Well, thank you for coming today. Can you tell us a little bit more about this incident that the students wrote about?
Well, there's two students, Chantel Jones and Max, and they were, I guess, drinking, and then went back to Max's house, I guess, and somewhere along the lines, there was an alleged assault. So the students wanted to comment on that.
Okay, and who were the two students that wanted to comment on that?
Chantel, wanted to comment on it, or who are the
Who
students that were assaulted?
Names of the students who wrote the article.
So I was involved in the process, gathering sources, writing it, editing it, along with the rest of the students that serve with the newspaper.
So just to clarify, it was you and this Grant, is that what you said?
No, a group.
Oh,
of
it's a group of
students.
students. Okay, sorry. These masks, a little bit hard to,
I know, I'm sorry.
catch what everyone's saying. So can we go back a little bit to your university? Does your university have any like policies against or about maybe like what you're allowed to write, what you're not allowed to write?
Well, not specifically. It's, you know how administration is. If they see something they don't like, they're gonna say something about it. That's basically just how it went.
And can you confirm with us, sorry, I might have already asked this, whether it's a private or public university?
It's a public university.
And do you belong to any teacher unions or anything of that sort?
I don't.
And just to ask you, do you care if I call you Mr. Jenkins?
Yes, that'd be great.
Awesome. What was your application process like when you joined the journal?
When I was a freshman, I took some classes with Dr. Mendez.
Mhm.
I was just fascinated with the classes that he taught, mostly journalism. And when I was a sophomore, I just went to her office, asked how I got on. She just handed me an application. I put down my name, my GPA, and was admitted.
And how many students are on this journal?
Oh, I don't know.
I think there's 5 of us in all, including myself.
And would you say that the application process was similar for all 5 students?
Definitely. We try to keep everything uniform across the board.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go back and talk a little bit about this article that was written about, the 2 drunk students, Max and Chantel. Can you describe a little bit more about what this article, was about? You said it was about alleged assault, but can you just, tell us a little bit more?
Well, the article was an opinion piece written by Mr. Jenkins here and his colleagues. And basically you just talked about how they thought that the outcome for Max should have been different, and how they wanted, more justice for Chantel. And there's all, minute little details thrown in there as well, but that's basically the gist of the article.
And when you say outcome for Max, what do you mean?
We wanted him expelled.
Okay.
And what happened to him instead of that?
Nothing. He's still a student.
Nothing at all, no
No.
disciplinary?
Nothing from the school.
Do you know what, does your school have any policies? Do they have a disciplinary policy?
Yes, I know that they have a policy about, coercion and assault and stuff that they should investigate it.
Okay, is that something maybe you could provide for us so that we could just take a look at it?
I could look in maybe the student handbook or something. Dr. Mendez, I don't know if you know of any documentation about that, but I could send it along if I come across any.
Yeah, I'm not sure specifically, but it might be in like the school's code of conduct for students somewhere along the lines. It could be found on the website, I'm sure.
Okay.
Could you establish a little bit more of a timeline in particulars to the incident, the journal, and then when y'all got in trouble for the journal?
Well, the incident occurred. Let me check my notes. I think I wrote down the dates.
Yeah, take your time. I know logistic stuff always just slips me. I get it.
So the incident occurred on July 29th, 2021. The article was written on August 2nd, 2021. And then I heard back from the school on August 30th.
Okay, and besides that correspondence of when they reprimanded you, have you had any more contact with the school?
Not really. They won't give me much information as to the specifics of why I'm being denied tenure.
And have you asked or,
I'm not quite sure how to approach that.
Okay.
Send a few emails, but that's about it.
okay. So can you just state with us what you hope to retrieve after meeting with us today and what you hope that we can help you with?
Well, I want my tenure back, honestly. I feel like I can better help the students if I'm guaranteed to be at the school. And I want to make sure that, Mr. Jenkins over here can write what he wants to write and not be censored by the school.
Mr. Jenkins, did you get in trouble with the school at all?
So nothing officially, no. I didn't get in trouble with the university, but I'm of course worried that something like that might happen. I'm worried that I could face sanction from the school. I'm worried that they might make me divulge sources or something like that. So I'm worried too about not only myself, but my journal.
What do you mean, like divulge sources?
Some of the information that I got came from sources that wanted to remain confidential.
Okay.
And I'm worried that the university might make me tell them who those people were.
Right.
Okay. And do you have a student handbook?
Yes, we do.
Is that something we could also maybe take a look at?
Absolutely, I could send that to you.
And
Great.
do you also have a copy of this journal article?
I don't on me, but I could send that along to your office.
Okay.
Awesome. And in your contract, do you remember there being any clause about, any publications that you might support or anything like that?
I don't remember offhand, but I could definitely take a look at it again.
Okay, and if you did have a copy of your contract, we would love to see that as well, if you're okay with that.
Sure, I could get one over to you.
Okay, awesome. And so what is the status of the article right now?
So the article right now is still up on the school's website, up on our page. It hasn't been taken down, thankfully.
Okay.
And as far as I know, nobody on the journal, any of my colleagues are really facing any disciplinary measures from the school. So our article is still in place, but obviously we're extremely angry at what's happening to Dr. Mendez over it.
Right.
Extremely angry over what's happened to this victim.
Right.
We think it's just utterly ridiculous. The school's not doing anything about it.
Right. And you say that you're not in trouble with the school. Have you all been facing any backlash, maybe from students who don't particularly agree with the journal article?
I haven't experienced any backlash from other students. In fact, we scheduled a protest after we wrote our journal article, just to voice concern and
Right.
to support the victim, and over 100 people showed up. So
Right. And the school never said anything to you about that either?
no.
Okay.
Have you guys reached out to the school to ask them about this?
I haven't really. Like I said, I'm not really on good terms with them at the moment, so I'm trying not to stir the pot as much as possible.
Mr. Jenkins, have you reached out to the school at all or any of your colleagues?
I actually had a meeting with the president of the school, Mr. Govin,
Okay.
and he was very friendly with me at first when I walked in, but then things got a little bit more tense. He basically accused Dr. Mendez, who wasn't present, that she had given me information about the incident that happened, which is just not true. And I told him so. And then he got pretty angry and dismissed me.
Why do you think that he believes that?
I have no idea.
And what information is he what does he mean by that?
Well, I got from a source that the person that committed the assault is actually the nephew of a big donor to the university.
Got it.
And I included that in the article.
Okay.
Now, he is accusing Dr. Mendez of telling me that, but that's just not true.
Okay. Well, this sounds like a very terrible situation. And first off, thank you so much for trusting us with this. And Second off, we sympathize. This is tough. And Mr. Jenkins, especially, being a student and standing up like that takes a lot of nerve. So
Thank you.
you should congratulate yourself. That's very awesome. Do you have any more questions?
Well, besides from what you've already told us, do you think there's anything else that might be important for us to know as we move on?
Doctor, you have anything?
Let me just check my notes. Yeah, I really don't think so.
Great.
Well, I'd like to just tell back your story in a more abbreviated sense, and then also talk a little bit about the goals that we discussed, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And if I've left anything out or mischaracterized something, please feel free to interrupt and correct me. So you both are here today because of a journal article that was published that had to do with two students, Max and Chantel. And there was harassment or an alleged assault after drinking. They went back to Max's house. Mr. Jenkins, you were kind of the spearhead, I guess, of this article, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say that I led the group in writing and editing it, yeah.
Okay, so you wrote the article about this alleged assault, and you maybe added some details that the school was uncomfortable with, including the fact that Max was the nephew of a donor of the school. The school is a public university, and the school emailed Dr. Mendez after this article was published and threatened you with your tenure, said that you're not on the track anymore, and you're a little bit worried about your future at the school. Mr. Jenkins, you're also concerned about the journal getting pulled or any sources having to be exposed. Let me look at what else. There are 5 other people on the journal, and it seems like they kind of feel the same way. You all had a protest, over 100 people showed up. People were very angry. You had a meeting with the dean, Mr. Dovin, or was it
Govin.
Govin? Awesome, thank you. Mr. Govin, he was friendly, but then things got a little bit ugly. He was making accusations about Dr. Mendez and alleged that she gave you the information about the nephew. Did I miss anything or say anything or say anything wrong?
No, that sounds all right to me.
Okay, so the goals that you are hoping to achieve is, Dr. Mendez, you would like to get your tenure back and have a little bit more job security. And then Mr. Jenkins, you want the article to not be touched, and you also want your sources to be safe. And was another goal that maybe you wanted Max to face some, or Chantel to be brought to justice, or?
Definitely.
Okay.
Max to be brought to justice, not Chantel.
Right, yes, sorry, yes.
All right, so with those goals in mind, we think it's important to consider some of the obstacles that we may face in, achieving these goals for you. First, we think that this is something that should happen fairly quickly, so time could be an issue for us. Additionally, the reputation of yourselves in the school, is also something we need to keep in mind. Additionally, we should definitely look at the policies and some of the rules that we have about, what you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say, just to see if there are any implications here. Hopefully we can figure all of that out so we can figure out what the next steps would be for you.
And I know that this might be kind of a recent incident, and maybe you haven't thought about this at all, but do y'all know kind of how you would like to see us go about this, whether that be going to trial? Would you like to keep it out of court? Have y'all given any thought about that?
Well, I don't want to pursue a legal avenue if it's not necessary, obviously, if the cost associated with that, regardless of any discount, obviously is higher than I'd like to go with. So if there's any alternate options, I'd definitely consider those first. But I'm not opposed to pursuing, in-court options.
Right.
But like I said, I want to get to tenure back, and I want to make sure the school isn't going to be censoring the kids. I mean, they have so much knowledge that really they should be allowed to just express themselves in any way that they see fit.
Yeah, so I think one of the first things we'd like to do for you is perhaps send a letter to the school, to administration, letting them know, what you've told us here today, what you hope to receive out of this. Just like a demand notice, letting them know that, we don't agree with what's going on. Additionally, maybe something we can consider is taking this to the media. Maybe we can, call the school out for what they've been doing and how they need to reform their policies. And another thing that might be beneficial, depending on your comfort level, is the idea of having a conversation about this with the school. We think it would be, beneficial for us to have an open dialogue, and a stream of, communication with the school. How comfortable are you with these ideas?
I do not want to go to the media. It's already gotten some media attention, and I have my reputation to protect. I want to maintain a professional identity as much as possible, and I feel like putting this in the media would not be something that is good for that reputation. But in terms of mediation with the administration, I think that would be also a good avenue to explore.
Right. We do want you to be aware, though, that we can't promise that this won't end up in litigation, although we can do our best to make sure that we try to keep it out of court. You never know what the other party is going to do. So we just want you to have that expectation that although we'll do our best, we can't promise anything. Beyond that, we do want to seek some avenues, maybe looking at teacher unions and seeing if you can file a complaint through them. They usually have, good resources and stuff that help teachers in these specific situations. But we can definitely look into that all a little bit more.
So I guess lastly, Claire and I want to emphasize the importance of taking into account these, potential consequences that, may affect you, because it's our goal to make sure that we can provide you with the knowledge necessary to make the best choices among some of the possible solutions we gave you, and maybe some other ones we can, dig up as we complete our initial investigation in the future. Do you have any questions about what we've been talking about? Does what we've discussed seem to make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Makes sense.
Okay, awesome. So we just want to encourage you to wait for us to get back with maybe some preliminary research before making any hard and fast decisions, which we can talk about that timeline in a little bit. However, in the meantime, if you all think that you maybe need therapy or some support groups, we have some great names. This sounds like a very heavy situation for both of, job security and also, the work that you put on, your very hard work. And so if you need to speak to someone, please let us know and we can definitely refer you somewhere.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Right, yeah, like you just said, we understand that you're in a really difficult situation and we're here for you. If it's okay, we're gonna move on to a little bit of the fees and other logistics that we mentioned.
Sure.
Okay, so if you choose for us to be your counsel, we're gonna charge you about $200 an hour. With this, you're gonna receive a layout of what we do during this time, just because we wanna be, as transparent with you as possible.
We also know, as we just discussed, that legal representation can be very expensive. So some tips that we give are, at the forefront, please give us any documents, student handbooks, your contract, anything like that. Maybe any email correspondence that you might have. Give those to us as soon as possible. Also with the names, email addresses, phone numbers, maybe the names of the other journal people would be helpful. And then also just keeping a folder of any relevant information that you might have will also help keep your costs down.
So lastly, if you decide to retain our services, everything we do for you, throughout this preliminary investigation belongs to you. Do you have any questions or comments about this?
No, not at all.
So Patty and I will be handling your case as a team. That being said, feel free to call us at any time if you have any questions or concerns. I'm going to give you all my business card. However, I will follow up with an email immediately after this, giving you our firm's contact information along with Patty and I's contact information, because we always lose those pesky things. Also, the email is going to include, some of the stuff that we talked about today, just reiterating your goals and some of the expectations that we have of each other. Also, we're going to give you some reminders to provide us with the paperwork and some of the information that we just talked about.
So next Tuesday, I'll be the one to send a follow-up email, just, confirming that you understand what we've done today. And also, we're going to include our retainer agreement, which you will have a week to sign. Just to clarify, a retainer agreement is a binding contract between us and you, just letting us know that you want us to represent you. Does that all sound okay?
Yes.
Okay, well, everything you've told us here today has been super helpful, and we really appreciate how open you've been with us. Is there anything else you could think of that might be important for us to know?
Not that I can think of now.
Well, how are you all feeling about this?
I'm a little nervous. not
Okay.
gonna lie.
Yep.
Um,
Then
Understandable.
very understandable. Well, we will do our best and we will be in touch. And again, thank you so much for coming in today. It's a lot, and I'll walk you out.
Thank you.
That was intense.
So the professor is the one who's been, organizing, she's been running this journal.
Mhm.
And, the student she had with her was the editor-in-chief. And I guess, what we gathered was that there was, some contention around an article that was posted by the chief editor and then also, the group of students, the 5 of them, I guess.
Right, so what I think is interesting is that, I think that because this is a public university and they do receive funding from the government, which maybe we should also clarify, I think that the school is gonna have a hard time trying to, press down on either of them and hinder their ability to speak their opinions under the First Amendment. I also think that a really viable option for Dr. Mendez would be looking into the teachers' unions, since they really do assist in these types of situations where the school might step in and try to, inhibit someone's First Amendment rights. However, the difficulty I might see with that, and maybe another thing that we should clarify, is just asking how much, creative authority she had over the journal, whether it be editing, if she added something, just
Right.
particulars like that to see how much stake she actually has in the article.
Right, I think it also is gonna be important to maybe reach out to the administration ourselves. Hopefully they agree to this, demand letter, this notice, and see how they're feeling about this. Because I think, sitting down and having a conversation with them, especially with us in the room, will make our clients feel more comfortable. And I think you would, allow a good channel of communication so that, everyone can speak freely about the issues. It would give, a chance for our clients to explain their side of the story, how they're feeling about it. So right now, this does seem kind of one-sided.
Right, and I also think that something else that we might want to look into is, the journalism laws for the students that, I definitely think that the school might want to press and know exactly who the sources were. And I think that there are laws to protect, any sources from confidentiality being breached. And so that's something that we should definitely look into, because from the sounds of it, that seems like the first thing that the university is going to go after Dr. Mendez, probably.
Right, but I mean, I think there's so many moral and sort of ethical issues here with, the article was exposing something that a student did wrong, something they
Right.
did terribly wrong, and the school has not disciplined them at all, has not done anything.
Right.
So I think, there's a lot to be said about the school and the way they handle matters like this. I mean, I think there's a lot of issues here, and I think, the clients are aware of that. They're unhappy with it. They, want justice for the student that was assaulted. They want justice for themselves. They don't want to be, shut up. They don't want to be quieted. So I think that's really important to consider as well.
I also completely understand and agree with the fact that they don't want to go to the media. However, it is almost a little bit unfortunate because I feel like we would get a very great turnout from that. But there would also be a lot of backside to that, including the fact that, a donor for the university is involved. And I don't want, Dr. Mendez, her safety or anything like that to be in jeopardy.
Right, but I think because there's a donor involved and the school's refusing to do anything, I think that also shows some moral and ethical issues
Right.
that are not right here, because it seems like something is going on behind the scenes that we don't really know about. And, I think they have a lot of good, issues that we can, take up, a lot of good ways, a lot of good solutions we can use in order to help them, maybe, help their case. I think it's interesting because I think the idea of, protecting someone who was assaulted, that seems like a pretty strong interest, of the school, of the state. Like, it seems like it would be something that was, maybe compelling. It could be a compelling straight interest to protect, victims of crimes. So I think because they were, voicing their opinion, exposing this, I don't think that can really be constrained under the First Amendment.
Right. And I also think that, the third goal was to see that Max got punished in a fair way, in the way that he should be punished.
Right.
And although I don't know if that's completely imminent right now, I feel like the other two goals are a little bit more imminent of, job security for Dr. Mendez and also making sure that the students are safe with their work. I think that that is something that we might just want to keep on the back burner, that whatever we do, we're definitely going to have to balance the moral and ethical issues along with the safety of our clients and also making sure that we fulfill all of their goals.
Right. I think, once we get our hands on their, employment contract, student handbook, the contract the student may have with the school, it would be interesting to see what kind of provisions they have in those contracts about, what conduct measures could be taken, what disciplinary policies they have, because I think, to just completely strip someone of their tender, status, that seems a little odd to me. Maybe they would consider having a hearing first or a meeting at the very least before they completely just, take this away from her.
Yeah.
And, I could be thinking of a case, but we'll have to do some more research where, you can't do that to a non-tenured professor. Like you can't just take that away from them without providing them a hearing, a chance to be heard. So I think that's something also we should look into because we could have a really good case with that.
And academic freedom is definitely, a custom in this country and something that our courts really strive to protect since, going to an academic institution is supposed to be a forum for people to share their ideas, even if not everyone agrees with them. And so I think that that definitely is something that's on our side. But like you said, I am a little worried when the fact that she wasn't officially a tenured professor.
Right.
So I wonder if the school is going to try and use that as a loophole so that they don't have to, abide by all of those regulations and stuff.
Right, that is sort of concerning. I think we definitely need to look at to see what documents or if they have a contract that explicitly states that, that explicitly states that she was on a path to this tenureship. Also, what's sort of concerning is that, Jenkins didn't want anyone to sort of know about who his sources are, but I'm not sure if that's something we can guarantee here. But we'll have to, look into that when we, do this preliminary investigation.
Well, one thing's for certain is that the journal piece was protected under the First Amendment. And so we're just going to have to really rely on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I definitely don't think this is something the school should be quieting at all. Because it's a public school, that's, I would say, even easier for us to make a case against because, private schools sometimes have more, restrictions. I also think it could be interesting to see if the professor and maybe even the student maybe if they would file a grievance with the administration, just letting the administration know that what they've done is wrong and that, the school violated these, academic freedoms that we're talking about. She doesn't want to go to the media, but I mean, the grievance is at least sort of behind the scenes. So that's something I think it would be important to consider.
So I think that we should talk about what we want to do as a team from here on out. So you're going to send the email on Tuesday, kind of outline the preliminary research. And I, after this meeting, am going to send the email with all of our information and just kind of the layout of what we talked about today. And so I think that if we kind of split this up and both research, First Amendment, and maybe you could, once we get the contracts and all that kind of stuff, look into the contractual obligations that she signed on to, that Dr. Mendez signed on to. And we can just kind of start from there and have a meeting, let's say Monday morning and, figure out what all we've found and compile an email together.
Yeah, definitely. I think, in this email that you should draft later, I can help you if you want. We should make sure to outline, the solutions we set here today, that could be a little fuzzy for them. We could also probably, give them some of our concerns, some of the possible consequences of what could happen, legally, economically, like what could happen to them, emotionally as well. But I think overall, I think we have a good grasp of what we need to do next. And I will send out this email next Tuesday. I will follow up with you about what I think we should say, and then you can also tell me about what you found,
Perfect.
and then we can,
Share our notes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, good work.
I'm seeing. I will now escort team 1 outside, and the judges will deliberate when both the teams have competed.
Gotta keep it safe. And now let me introduce our second team. We have Tori Deyo and Danielle Lynch.
You can take a seat right here. Thank you. Thank you for coming in today. My name is Tori Deyo, and this is my co-counsel, Danielle Lynch. Our meeting is going to be about a half hour, so if you have to use the restroom at any time, it's right down the hall. Just let us know. We want to make sure that you're as comfortable as possible. Thank you.
And I'm assuming you are Professor Linda Mendez?
Yes, it's Dr. actually.
Doctor, excellent. And who is this with you today?
My name's Thomas Jenkins. Dr. Mendez invited me along to the consultation because I have some concerns of my own I'd like to express.
Great, thank you.
All right, before we get into things, I just want to let you know that everything we talk about here tonight is generally confidential. That means that outside of our law firm, we won't be speaking to anyone else about it. And we want you to just feel as comfortable as possible speaking with us tonight, answering our questions, and helping us get to know your situation a little bit.
I want to provide a little roadmap for you so you understand how the meeting is going to work today. This meeting is a free consultation. It's about a half hour long. We're going to ask you to give some basic information about yourself, the situation, why you're here. We'll ask you some specific questions regarding your particular problem. Hopefully we'll come up with some legal and non-legal solutions so that you both feel comfortable moving forward. At the end, we'll answer any lingering questions you might have. With that being said, if you have any questions during the consultation, please stop us. If we use any legal jargon at any point that is confusing or you don't understand, please let us know. We want to make sure that you have a good understanding of your options moving forward. And then at the end of the consultation, we'll discuss a retainer agreement if you would like to move forward. We have an understanding that this is kind of an eminent situation. So we have provided the retainer agreement. It's with us today. So that, you know, if you decide to move forward, we can proceed with that as well. During the consultation, we'll be taking some notes just to get an idea of the crucial legal facts. The notes are protected by attorney-client privilege as well, so they will not be shared with anybody outside our office. And we have conducted a conflicts check at this point. The names that you provided we've checked to make sure that we have no conflicts at all in representation. And that just means that if you decide to move forward with us, we can represent you in the future without any conflict of interest with any other party. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, so we have a little bit of information, but why don't you tell us in your own words why you're here today?
Well, I created consultation because I'm just getting jerked around by my university.
Okay. Could you be a little bit more specific about some of your concerns that you have?
Well, I mean, they're just not cooperating the way that I want them to. You know, I'm the faculty advisor for the journal at the school, and ever since an article was published, everything has just been different. I did have tenure, now I don't. The article has just caused a lot of uproar, as I'm sure Tom could tell you.
Yeah, I was the editor, and really the editor of the newspaper, and me and my team wrote the article.
Okay.
And are you employed at the school or are you a student there?
I'm a student. I'm in my senior year now.
Okay. And you said that you're the faculty advisor of this particular journal, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you also a professor at this university as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you full-time?
Yes, I teach a lot of the journalism classes there.
Okay, great.
And how long have you been there?
I've been teaching there for 6 years.
6 years?
Okay.
Now, to move into a little bit this specific article, when was the article published?
I believe it was August 2nd,
And that was of this year?
2021. Yes.
And what was the topic of the article?
Well, it was about an altercation between two students, and Tom, along with the rest of the journal, had some strong opinions about it that they wanted to share.
The students that are the topic of the article, were they students at this particular university?
Yes.
Okay.
And in seeking a consultation from us today, are you here in a representative capacity of the students, or are you here for yourself or for the school?
Definitely not for the school. I would say that my role is kind of twofold. I want to represent myself in the tenure issue, but I also want to help the students with their journal.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. It gives us an idea of some of the concerns that you have, and we want to address both of those topics. Is this a public or private university?
It's a public institution.
Okay.
And I hear your concerns about the tenure, and we certainly will get into that, but I'd like to focus on the article first before we get into that. So just know we aren't ignoring that concern. We certainly will discuss that later. When the article was published, when did the issue first arise with this institution?
What do you mean by the issue exactly?
So, you know, you said the school hasn't been listening to you. They, you know, your tenure has been strict. It seems like, what was the issue caused by this article that brings you in today?
Well, the administration just didn't like the content of the article, and they contacted me they wanted it to be taken down. And I said that I didn't think that it should be taken down. And not too long after that, I received confirmation that I was no longer on a tenure track.
Are you still the faculty advisor of this particular journal?
At the moment, yes.
Okay. Did you get any reason or explanation on why the school wanted you to take this particular article down?
They just didn't like the opinions of the students that were in there. They didn't really go too much into it. They just really didn't like the content, and they said that it wasn't appropriate to be on the journal, which I completely disagree.
Okay, so it was pretty general, if I'm understanding correctly, the complaint against this particular article, there wasn't any particular provision to a handbook or anything that the administration cited to you?
No.
Okay.
All right, and still focusing on that article, could you provide just a little more information about what the article was about? What kind of language that the school was unhappy with?
Well, like I said, the article was about an incident between two other students. Basically, the students were drinking at a bar, and events unfolded, and there was an alleged assault. And the students had concerns about the outcome for the particular student who was alleged to have assaulted the other.
Okay. Now, Thomas, have you had any communication with the school at all regarding this particular article?
So I had a meeting actually with the president, Mr. Govin, about the incident, about the article that I wrote. And I don't know, it started out okay, but it kind of turned south quickly.
Okay, so when you say it started out okay, could you explain that a little bit? Was he receptive at all to your concerns?
Well, he started out very friendly and told me that he liked the journal, that he thought everybody on the team were really good students. But then he started accusing Dr. Mendez of doing certain things that just wasn't true, and I defended her, and then he dismissed me.
Are you comfortable repeating some of the things that he was alleging Dr. Mendez of doing?
He alleged that Dr. Mendez had divulged information about the incident to the journal.
Okay, I understand. And the basis of that opinion is, were there facts in the journal article that were not readily known?
It's a completely baseless claim.
Okay. And you
Ridiculous.
defended her? That's
Yes, I
correct?
did.
Okay, have you faced any academic consequences at all from your interaction with the president?
I haven't, and nobody on the journal team has.
Okay,
But of course, we're worried about something like that happening.
so you're concerned that maybe you would face some consequences?
Right.
Okay, any particular consequences that you're worried about particularly?
Really, I'm afraid that the school might force me to tell them who my sources were when I wrote this article. I'm worried about any sort of sanction against me, the people that I write with. Obviously, I'm concerned about Dr. Mendez losing her tenure.
Yeah.
I think that's utterly absurd.
Um,
So there's a few concerns.
I hear a lot of frustration, and we're hopefully going to come forward with some solutions for you both today, so that you leave and you feel like you're in a better position than you were coming in today. I just have one more question regarding the journal specifically. Is there anything, a student handbook, a handbook in the particular journal that specifies the content of your articles that you're allowed to publish, anything that gives you any guidance regarding publication?
Nothing written like that, no sort of handbook. We write mostly opinion pieces, and we show them to Dr. Mendez for approval.
Okay. Is there any approval beyond you?
No, there's not.
Understood.
And I want to focus a little bit more on the incident itself, just to clarify a few details. This was an off-campus incident at a bar you had mentioned, and it seems like there was some sort of investigation done by the school?
No.
There was not. There was no investigation.
Correct.
Okay. And Was it a physical assault or some other type of assault that occurred?
Well, we don't really know. We just know that students were together at the bar and then they went back to one of the other students' houses, and then there were screams that were heard, and then an
The
assault
police
was
were
alleged.
called.
Okay. If I can summarize some of the concerns, just to make sure that we're on the same page, at least in regards to the article itself. So you have some concerns regarding potential sanctions, having your title stripped as editor of this particular journal. And really the concern is regarding this article that was published, that you feel you are entitled to publish as the editor of your journal.
Right, yeah, right.
Absolutely. And you also want to protect your sources, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Did I summarize it essentially? Are there any issues or details that we're missing with the article itself and your concerns?
Nothing with the article, really.
Okay.
And Dr. Mendez, it seems like you're not only here for yourself and the issue you're having with your tenure being taken away, but you're also here to represent the students who also might be punished and who are being negatively impacted by the school's actions. Is that correct?
Yes, I feel that the school is censoring them and that shouldn't be allowed whatsoever. I mean, like Tom said, the pieces are generally opinion pieces, and they should be taken as such, and they shouldn't be censored just because the school didn't like what they had to say.
Yeah. Understand your concerns with that. If we could move forward with your employment concerns with the particular university. You had mentioned earlier that you're a professor of journalism, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and you've worked there for about 6 years?
correct.
And when you got hired there, did you sign an employment contract?
I did.
You did. And were you given any kind of handbook?
I was given a faculty handbook, yes.
Do you happen to have those documents on you today?
I do have a faculty handbook, yes.
Oh, that would be great. Is there anything in the faculty handbook that to you sticks out in this particular situation?
I really haven't had the chance to thoroughly go through it, but
Okay.
maybe upon further inspection.
Okay. When did you achieve tenure status?
Well, I was on a tenure track and I would have received tenure status in the spring of this year, so next semester. I was quite close, obviously. But at the moment I'm taken off the tenure track and no longer will be receiving that in the spring.
Okay. And were you told that from the president or the administration?
So I was contacted by the president's assistant about a month after the publication of the article that I was going to be released from the tenure track. I was notified by email.
Do you happen to have that email as well?
I don't have a copy of the email,
Okay.
but I can get that to you.
Absolutely. We would definitely want to see the language that was used. Was there any reason why you were released from tenure track?
Well, I wasn't really given much of a reason. I was just told that I no longer was, and I've been trying to get more information about that, but I haven't been successful.
I understand.
So after that email, did you ever have any other contact about the issue?
I don't think there really was much contact. I mean, I tried to reach out to the administration, to President Govan, but there really wasn't much response.
I can imagine that's extremely frustrating in your position.
Definitely.
Have you heard about any other professors that this has happened to in the past?
Not to my recollection, no.
And are you part of a union or any type of collective bargaining agreement?
No, I'm not.
Are you aware of any of the faculty at your school that is part of a union?
I can't say for sure, but I think some of the faculty might, but like I said, I really don't know the specifics.
Okay.
Have you faced any sort of disciplinary action in the past?
No, I haven't been, perfectly aligned with what the school wants. I've published numerous articles myself for journalism. I've taught so many classes. Like I said, I've been there for 6 years and I was almost tenured. And this is the only thing that has happened that could possibly be the reason why I don't have tenure.
Okay. I can imagine how startling and frustrating this must be for you then with such a clean record, and it seems like you are really an asset to the university.
Thank you.
Did you receive regular performance reviews as part of your tenure track?
Yes.
Okay, and generally, were they positive and show that you were satisfactory or, meeting the expectations and instruction?
Yes, definitely. I can't even recall any negative remarks on any of them.
Okay. Is there any sort of grievance process in your particular university that you're aware of that you're supposed to follow if you have some kind of disagreement with an administrative decision?
I'm not sure about a grievance process for faculty. Like I said, maybe it's in the faculty handbook. I'd have to look further. I do know that there's, grievance processes that students go through if they have problems with the administration or the faculty, but not aware of any for myself.
Are you aware of the grievance processes that you're entitled to follow if you have an issue with an administration?
I'm not aware of anything like that.
Okay.
I know that, everybody on the journal was obviously upset when we heard that Dr. Mendez was denied tenure. We obviously think it's because of this journal article, and we staged a protest.
Okay. Have you done the protest at this point?
Yes, we have.
Okay. How was the administration? Were they receptive to it at all?
I didn't really hear anything about the protest. It was after that I had the meeting with the president.
Okay.
And other than that meeting and the protest, have you had contact with anybody else about these issues? Any students, other faculty, administration?
No.
Have you had any other issues with the administration since you started working at the university?
No, not at all.
Okay, so this is the first one.
Yes.
Okay.
From what you're aware of, does the school have a policy that they would usually use for investigating incidents similar to the one that occurred here?
Which incident are you referring to?
The incident that the article was written about, I'm sorry.
Yes, there is an investigation process.
But to your knowledge, it wasn't followed with this off-campus incident?
Correct.
Okay.
And do either of you have any personal knowledge about why they didn't do an investigation?
Well, I have an idea. One of my sources told me that the student that assaulted the other student is actually the nephew, one of the biggest donors at the university.
Okay.
I think that's why they haven't taken any action.
Okay. That helps to provide some context and maybe explain some of the issues that are occurring in this process.
And from what you know about this policy of investigating incidents of that type, do they typically investigate these incidents even when they happen off campus?
I think typically when it involves students, they try to at least get some information about it, yes.
Okay. Have either of you spoken to anybody at the school about this issue or outside of the school for some advice, legal or otherwise?
About which issue are you referring to?
Let me be more specific. Your particular issue with your tenure track being stripped, have you talked to anybody at the school about that?
No, aside from trying to get more information from the administration, I have not.
Okay. And with your particular situation, have you talked to anybody outside of Dr. Mendez of some of your concerns that you have with the handling of this?
No, nobody in the school, nobody outside.
Okay.
Right. And thinking about down the road, what would the ideal outcome of this situation be for both of you? We can start with you, Dr. Mendez. What would you like to ideally see happen here?
Well, I really would like to get my tenure back. I feel that I can be a further asset to the school and a resource for the students if I can be at the school for a guaranteed amount of time. I also want to make sure that the students aren't being censored with their articles. And I think those are really my two main points.
Okay. What about you, Thomas?
My concerns involve, if the university wants to use any litigation against me or my journal gets pulled, I don't want that to happen. I obviously want to see Dr. Mendez after tenure, and I want to see an apology to the victim of this incident. And I would like to see some reform at my school.
Okay. Are you comfortable moving forward with potential litigation, or would you be more comfortable with starting with a conversation with the school and see if we can remedy some of these issues more informally?
Well, I think obviously the legal methods are expensive, so I'd rather try to resolve this without formal litigation if possible, but I am not opposed to moving forward with formal litigation if that's what it comes to.
Okay.
Right, so unless there's anything else you could think of that we should know at this point, we could shift over to talking about some options you might have, and we can start with those non-legal options if you'd like.
Sure, that would be great.
So we'll start with the most informal option, I suppose, would really just be having a sit-down conversation. If you decide to retain us as attorneys, either of you, we could be there to represent you and your interests. And the school could have their counsel there too. We could all just sit down, talk about the situation, and see if everyone can come to an agreement for a resolution that would be beneficial to everyone. If that didn't work, we could take one step further and do mediation. And in that case, it's similar, but there would be a mediator there. All parties would need to agree on the solution still. And the step past that would be arbitration, where there's an arbitrator there that makes the decision for you.
So those would be the most cost-effective options, the less adversarial options. Having a conversation, as Danielle mentioned, with the school, with an attorney, would show them that you are serious about the concerns that you have, and could potentially let them understand those concerns and maybe come to some kind of resolution to avoid any potential litigation. But that's not the only concerns that you have. Because you, Dr. Mendez, are an employee of a state university, you're entitled to particular rights. And if your rights were stripped, and in your opinion, because of an unjustifiable reason, there are several legal options that we could pursue, one of which is an Article 78 proceeding. And essentially what that means is we would present your case, and we would ask that the court make a determination whether or not you're being stripped of your tenure track status was in line with the policies of the school. So they would look to the handbook, and upon concluding our meeting, we will look through the handbook and see what the policies are, because I'm sure there are policies in here that outline tenure track, when tenure track can be pulled, whether it's because you were unsatisfactory, which it doesn't sound like that was your case here with your performance. Your performance reviews were great, but there probably are policies in here that the court would look at to see if the particular administration followed those policies. So that would be an option as well. It's less informal than formal litigation, less costly. The one thing to be mindful of is there's a 4-month statute of limitations, and that runs from the decision. So it sounds like the decision was just made by the university to pull you from tenure track. Is that correct?
No, actually, I received the email on August 30th.
Okay, so in that case, if you decided to go forward with an Article 78 proceeding, that would be something that we would move quickly on because of the short statute of limitations that we can bring an action in that particular context.
And we would also need to check that handbook and your employment contract, if you could get a copy of that at some point, just to make sure there aren't any administrative remedies that you could do first through the school. That's another just piece of the puzzle that we'd have to put together. Possibly the most drastic option here, it seems like there could be some First Amendment concerns with the school trying to censor the speech. And I know that that seems to be very important to both of you, that you don't think that's acceptable. So if it came to that point, this could become some type of federal lawsuit under the First Amendment, but that would be further down the road. That would be after we try all of these other measures, that would really be more of a last resort. That's the most expensive, the most time consuming and really draining process. So I just want you to be aware that that is an option, but it's likely not the best option here.
So moving forward, we would like to see the employment contract that you had. We will take a look at the faculty handbook. We would also want to see the student handbook as well,
Okay.
to see what kind of policies and rules that the students are supposed to abide by. And any other relevant policies that you think would be important in this context. Any, the email that you received when you were pulled from tenure track, that would be important for us to look at as well.
And I know that this issue is something that is very important to you both, and you'd probably like to move pretty quickly on this as it's your final year at the school. You know, you were trying to get your tenure. So we have prepared a retainer agreement for you, Dr. Mendez. You know, we were aware that you were coming in, so we prepared this retainer agreement. And I'll let you take that with you and go ahead and give it a read through. If you decide you'd like to move forward with representation, we can go ahead and do that. We won't be doing any legal work before we receive the retainer agreement back, if that makes sense.
Yes, okay, I'll take a look at this and get it back to you as soon as I make my decision.
Absolutely. Take a couple days to think about it. Call us if you have any questions. If anything else arises, please let us know. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please call our office.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in. We'll walk you out. So we had a lot of information in that short period of time. It seems like we have two dual goals going on here. There's a student goal and a faculty goal that are both of equal importance.
One almost red flag that I see right off the bat is that Thomas came in with Dr. Mendez. We didn't anticipate that, and there could be some conflicts of interest between them moving forward. As of right now, there aren't, but I'm not sure that we could represent both of them, which is why I only presented the retainer agreement to Dr. Mendez, who was the initial person that reached out to us.
Correct. Some other concerns that we had, if she decided to go forth with an Article 78 proceeding to review the decision made on part of administration, we have a very short statute of limitations to work with. So that was something I wanted to express to her. We did get information that it was an eminent concern. So having the retainer agreement prepared, I think, was the best case scenario, so that they know that we're not going to represent them in the meantime. And if they want us to represent them and get started on this, that they need to get that back to us.
And I think generally both potential clients were concerned about the censorship. They were concerned about the students being negatively impacted. And they were even both concerned about the tenure issue.
Right. Absolutely. I think the solutions that we proposed, even though we had more, we had prepared some information on breach of contract. Those were things that we couldn't necessarily address at this point because we don't have the contract, but that is something that we could potentially propose moving forward, that there are different causes of action and avenues that can be taken to rectify some of these issues that we're seeing.
Absolutely. This seems like a good situation to start off with, that alternative dispute resolution, especially because both of these parties are going to maintain a relationship with the school.
I agree.
Neither of them are looking to find a new job or find a new school. So an amicable resolution would be the best here.
Right, to prevent that adversarial relationship. I absolutely agree.
I did want to mention the federal litigation just as like keep this in the back of your mind. If all else fails, we can take this route, but it won't be easy and it won't be cheap.
It'll be time consuming and mentally draining. I agree. I think the weakness we had, we spent a lot of time in the beginning going over the facts, which were extremely important because we had another party here that we had to get some information on. But it left us not enough time to go through all the different avenues and potential legal claims that could be explored. So I would have liked to see us have a couple more minutes just to explore those different legal claims that could be options for the clients, but at the same time, we had a lot of facts that we had to garner. Even more facts came out right at the end regarding a potential reason why censorship is happening with a connection between the donor, and that was not something that was expressed initially.
Absolutely. And I think moving forward, the primary thing we need to do is get our hands on these documents. We have the handbook, which is a very good place to start. We also need the contract. We need the student handbook. Once we get all these documents, we can parse through them and look for anything that might be relevant here. Any administrative procedures, any terminology about free speech, and if any speech is prohibited, any terminology about the law review in general and their publishing process.
Her contract could provide for limitations that maybe she's not aware of or doesn't remember because it was 6 years ago, but that would be relevant for us to see if there was a breach of that employment contract. And again, the faculty handbook could provide us some information regarding the standard that is used for this particular university with making decisions regarding tenure teachers. Those are all things that at least we have this and we can get started, but those are more documents that we need. I agree.
And no matter which route the client decides to take if they move forward with us, I think the administrative remedies would come first.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the place to start.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to both the teams. Now the judges will go deliberate in the judges' chambers, and the competitors can sit and watch the certificates being given out.
Beautiful, thank you.
So again, thank you all for being here. So while the judges are out deliberating, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to some people without whom this competition would never have been a success as it was this year. First and foremost, I'm gonna wait. There she is. My associate, Rebecca Novick. Rebecca is my rock. She did a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes and kept us organized. I'm so thankful to have her as my associate for this semester and for the next. Thank you, Rebecca. Now, next, I would like to thank Tegan Dolan, who's online right now, our Moot Court Board Executive Director. Tegan was an incredible source of support. She helped with so many little aspects. I appreciate her patience and kindness. She's always there for us. Thank you, Tegan. I would also like to thank other Moot Court Board members for their assistance this year. Thank you for serving as last-minute judges, client, room organizers, anything we ask for. I really appreciate your help. Thank you. I would like to thank all the attorneys who volunteered their time to come judge this competition, and all the first-year students who took time out from their studies to volunteer as clients. Their names are listed on the back of the program. I would like to extend thanks to Teresa Colbert and John Collins, as well as Dean Queenan, the Moot Court Board Advisor, for making this and all other Moot Court competitions possible. Lastly, I would like to give a tremendous thank you to the Client Counseling Competition Advisor, Professor Joseph Connors. This competition would not have been a success without his help and support. Thank you for everything. If Professor Connors would like to come down, we have a token of our appreciation for you. At this time, I would like to present awards to our octo-finalists, quarter-finalists, and semi-finalists. When I call your name, if you're here, please come down to receive your awards. You can put that down for a second. All the finalists, Jenna. Joel will be there. Oscar A. Carriers. Cara Orlov. Mia Cardinelli. Alexandra Glavis. Manny Gibraldo. Benjamin Goldberg. Robert Wojnacki. Minhong J. Lauren Jurgens. Still Ryan again. Olivia Kim. Abigail Kim. Sana Omar. Craig Stett. Bishop. Tina Bendito. Are you upstairs? Danielle Lynch. Raymond Leguez. Allison McNally. Luke Sheridan. Terry Clover. Lily Keeler. Raymond Weiss. Morgan Welling. And that's it for now. So we just wait for the judges to deliberate, and it should be a couple more minutes. So if you can hang tight, pray for the competitors, and we'll be right back. A short ad.
Oh, yeah, they were great.
Hello, guys. We're ready to start back up again. Competitors, can I please ask you to come join me at this table? Can we please have our judges come back in?
Just kidding.
The judges will now give their feedback and announce the winner.
Good evening, everyone. I want to say first, we enjoyed the competition. We thought that both teams did an excellent job. And I know the extra person was a curveball that you both had to sort of deal with off the fly. So I think at this time you want to do feedback.
Sure.
And then from each of us. So I will give my feedback first. Team one. I thought you really had great teamwork together. I think you're looking at each other, you're shaking, nodding your head. That's really good. I think it's really assuring to the client that you guys can work together. So that was good. Also, I thought you had really good demeanor. I think in your post interview, you sort of caught some of your missteps. I think that you probably should have gotten out and more in the interview. But I thought that sort of, you did recognize some of the issues. You didn't recognize the conflict of interest that the other person presented. You didn't really recognize him. It was, he was kind of sitting there answering questions and stuff like that, but I didn't think you really got to that issue. I love your options at the end. I thought you did a good job explaining your reasoning for the actions that you were going to take in terms of following up. I did think that just a couple of things that I wanted to mention that you could improve on. I thought you spoke too much to the script in the beginning. Great to throw out the legal jargon, great to kind of get people who are not familiar with legal terms comfortable with that, but I do think that was a little, you might want to find a better balance with that. And with regard to the Article 78 issue, in terms of the tenure, I believe that you didn't really get to that point as well. So those are my comments for the first team. Do you want to do the first team?
And it's Ms. Stratton and Ms. Whelan. Do I have that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
terrific. So I would echo much of what Judge Frost said. One thing that I really noticed that I liked a lot was that you had a very specific roadmap at the end. Okay, you're going to do this and you're going to give us these documents and I'll follow up with this email, and that's terrific. That's really useful because the reality is you're going to be dealing with people in crisis, and it's helpful to everybody to have those very clear timelines and expectations. In addition to the question, and I felt some of your solutions were especially creative. I approved of, sorry, it's not to me to approve and disapprove. I really appreciated that you brought in media as a possible solution. I will say that in addition to the question of a conflict of interest, one issue you might have spotted with the extra person there would be the waiver of attorney-client privilege with an extra person in the room. And let me assure you that in real life, that will happen. That's going to happen all the time. So that's something you're just going to want to have on your radar. But you did a nice job.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, so I will echo much of what the other two justices already stated. One of the things that I think that you did an outstanding job on was really making this feel like a law practice. So, talking about things that are kind of outside the law. Parking, did you get here okay? This is how we contact you. This is how you contact us. Here's a timeline. Here are options. I think as far as improvements go, you probably could have gone a little more substantively into the law and kind of looked at more solutions going directly to litigation, mediation, things like that. But the solutions that you came up with and the suggestions that you presented to the clients were fantastic. I also like the fact that you included things like talking to a counselor or group, something to that effect, something that's not necessarily legal related, but these are things that your clients will need in the future. So great job. It's very obvious why both of the teams are here. And for team one, you were very polished.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, now we'll move on to team two. I really did, again, great teamwork. I think you both worked really well together. You fed off of each other. If one person didn't pick up something, the other person seemed to be able to really follow up with something. I loved your questions. I really think your questions, you picked up some of the sort of, I guess, they were very obviously vague, and you were able to, kind of follow up and say, hey, what about that? Or can you tell me more about that? And I thought your questions got a lot of the facts out that needed to be put on the table. So good job with that. You got right to their concerns and you addressed them separately. You also noticed the conflict of interest. You didn't notice the waiver of confidentiality, but at least you noticed it in your self-interview portion. It would have been nice to let the client know that, hey, you might not be able to represent both of you because your interests might not be on the same page, which is something that you really should have told the student before he left. You kind of just left him hanging a little bit. But I also, I say I loved your roadmap in the beginning. I believe, what's your name again?
Tori.
Tori, you did a good job sort of explaining how that meeting was gonna go. So those are my comments.
Thank you.
I would echo again, I'm sorry. Once again, I would echo much of what Judge Frost said. I thought that you structured your interview particularly nicely where you kind of let the clients talk through it, but not to excessive length. And then you followed up from there. I felt that that's what enabled you to get that many facts out that quickly. One thing that I would have liked to see is a more specific plan for follow-up. I know you handed the retainer and you said, soon, which is excellent. But it's really, in my opinion, it's always useful to have a time frame, or if I don't hear back from you within a week, we'll reach out, or something of that nature. You'll get us those documents by X date. People do better, I think, with concrete steps. And that's really useful for the client to feel some agency as well. Let's see. Aside from that, my primary comments were, you did recognize the possible conflict, though a little bit late in the game. And as I said a moment ago, you will encounter those circumstances. Hand on heart, you will.
All right, so I will also echo what the previous judges said again, but I'll also add a couple things. So one of the things that I liked was that you added comments into your analysis and your questions that tended to provide the client with some comfort. So I hear a lot of frustration here. Let's work towards a resolution. Have you had any of this happen in the past? You're an asset to the university, right? This is like a really easy way to show your client, hey, I'm on your side without saying that outright. So that I think takes a certain level of finesse that maybe you don't always see at the law school level. So that's kind of neat. I really appreciated that. I really also was impressed with the way you laid out potential resolutions, from sitting down and having an informal talk to a full out federal litigation. And then, but you took it a step further and you indicated which of these options were more viable, cheaper, more expensive, maybe less productive. And I think that that's also very important to your client, because they don't necessarily know that. When we throw around terms like Article 78, we're attorneys, we know this stuff. A lot of lay people do not. So I think that was very effective for you to go that step further and indicate which options are a little more viable. I also liked the way you worked together. I was very appreciative of the fact that you knew what the statute of limitations was, you knew how long it was, and that you really indicated to your client, we need to move quickly if this is the route you want to go. I would have almost even pushed that a little harder, but that was great. I think the only thing I really would have added is you did determine the relationship between the two parties, but then to take it a step further and say like, oh, I don't really think that there's a privilege between the two of you. That would have been a good segue to do that. But other than that, both of these teams were absolutely excellent. I can absolutely see why you both made it to the final round, and I'm really happy to have witnessed this tonight. So congratulations to both the RA, or all four of you for that matter.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I believe it has come to the point where we will announce the winner. So upon consultation with my co-justices, we believe that Team 2 was the winner tonight.
Congratulations, Tori and Danielle. Thank you, Patty and Claire. Congratulations to you as well. Barbary is providing both of our finalists with prizes, which you can get from Teresa Colbert's office. I would like to thank our judges this evening for giving up their valuable time, and we have a small token of appreciation for you three. If you would like to join me over here. Parents. Judge Frost. Ms. Esposito, thank you for being here. I would also request the judges to give the awards to the finalists and the winners. I guess that here. Patricia Whelan and Claire Stratton. And now our winners, Tori Deyo and Danielle Lynch. Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to our participants. Thank you to our judges. Please follow us to the reception in the tent. And thank you again for being here tonight.